Hello, it's Agent Dorky here again. Now coming back to give you another installment of Tracking Shadows, where we're now going to read Chapter 3. Chapter 3, Catching Up in the Capital. Tiny wasn't meeting Jordan until Sunday night, but decided to head to DC early for an unexpected visit. After a quick pre-dawn workout, sparring in the ring with his boxing coach, Tiny caught a ride to the airport. It had been a while since Tiny had been to Washington, and Tiny figured now was a good time to stop by his brother's place in Chevy Chase to say hi. Jack was now the chief of staff for a United States senator, while his wife, Diane, was a high school English teacher. After a mild surprise at the spontaneity of the visit, though Tiny knew his brother had grown used to having little warning or fanfare before he re-entered his life, Jack welcomed his older brother into his townhouse. Tiny looked around the spacious suburban setup. So this is the new place. Nice digs. Before he could share his admiration of the modern decor and new furniture, a thundering rush started as Tiny's niece and nephew raced their Great Pyrenees to the door. They all came stampeding toward Tiny in an onslaught of hands and paws. Anna and JJ, ages 10 and 8 respectively, were always excited to see Uncle Colt. Tiny took the opportunity to invite the family to join him in DC for some sightseeing. Diane had to stay behind to grade papers, but Jack and the kids joined Tiny for brunch at the nearby Founding Farmers restaurant before driving into the city. As they walked around the National Mall, Tiny and Jack, who had served in the Air Force as a pilot before becoming a career civil servant, tried to discuss the importance of service and duty with Anna and JJ, who were more interested in a game of tag with each other. Tiny wanted to explain how freedoms are founded and sustained on sacrifice. Sometimes I has nothing to do with it, and sometimes I don't want, so that we can be better off. The kids looked up at him while he was talking, but Tiny was pretty sure it was a sign of respect and not a signal of their attention. Jack, perhaps reading the body language of the two kids the same way, raised his voice a touch louder than they had been speaking. Anna, JJ, listen up while Uncle Colt teaches you an important lesson. The children nodded their heads with empty eyes and focused on Tiny. Let him play, Jack. We were the same way. I bet all kids are. Without waiting for a seal of approval from their father, Anna and JJ resumed their game of tag. Still, to reinforce the message, even for Tiny and Jake's own benefit alone, they climbed the hallowed steps to the Lincoln Memorial. There was a solemn air surrounding Tiny and Jack, and curiosity held the kids as they read the inscription above the imposing statue of the former President of the United States. In this temple, as in the hearts of the people for whom he saved the Union, the memory of Abraham Lincoln is enshrined forever. Tiny stood there thinking back to what it must have been like then. Families torn apart while the nation fought itself, what it took those soldiers to raise their arms against fellow countrymen in the name of keeping the Union whole and protected from threats. It is as true now as in the days of the Civil War. His eyes started to sting as he thought about all he had given up over the years to serve his country. The contortions of horror on the face of friends and foes alike, the dates he could have been on. He looked over to Anna and JJ, finally standing straight and still while taking in the atmosphere around them. The family I could have had. His eyes lingered on the Gettysburg Address, reading it himself for singing the 100th time. Seeing the reflection pool restored the restless energy in JJ and Anna that had been shelved while they were in the memorial. Rather than continuing their walk along the mall, they wanted to chase the mirror image of Washington's monument in the water. Tiny saw the World War II memorial for the first time and appreciated its precision in identifying America's allies and pivotal moments, finding quotes about the conflict that highlighted the war's critical components in an artistic vision. After this, they visited the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. More than they were for the memorials and statues, the kids were excited for the one-of-a-kind astronaut ice cream that they only ever found in a gift shop. Tiny couldn't help but share their childlike wonder at the boundless possibilities of space exploration, ice cream and all. It was Tiny's idea to take the kids to the new Spy Museum. Of course, Tiny wasn't secretly trying to train them to join that base, but he wanted to show them the importance of security and being alert. He was all too aware of the shadowy underworlds that extended beyond what was right in front of you. Though the messages here might not have sunk in, it was fun nonetheless. Especially when he was hyping the ingenuity of the Turtle, America's first combat submarine during the Revolutionary War, and the kids were more interested in gadgets like the F-bomb, the falling ballistically launched object that makes back doors. He suspected this was more for the name of the device than the fact that it could hack into a target's Wi-Fi system remotely after being launched or placed in the proximity of the network. On the walk back to the car from the museum, Jack turned to Tiny as the kids played further up ahead. Colt, this is a lot of fun. I don't think the two of us have been back to the Smithsonian since we went as kids with Mom and Dad. Yeah, it was a lot of fun with the family back then, and it's a lot of fun with your family now. Tiny said, his shoulders hunched and hands in his pocket, kicking a stone along the ground. You know, Colt, Jack said, patting his brother's back, it's not my family, it's our family. Anna and JJ are always asking when they get to see Uncle Colt again. They like getting to know you. We all wish you'd be a little bit more involved in their lives. I do love spending time all this together. Then why not be around more often? Tiny thought about how long it had been since he had spent time with any of his family or close friends beyond the quick visit here or there between missions. Work at the bank is always busy, Jack. I go from hotel to hotel, different clients every time, but dealing with the same shit. I thought seeing the world would be fun and exciting, but it's definitely hard work. So when I do get home for a few days or a week at a time, I'm usually just recovering in my empty apartment until my next business trip. That's the thing though, we know better than most that you don't know what you've got until it's too late. Tiny sighed and watched the children playing carefree ahead of him. Yeah, we do. Tiny's voice sounded deeper, like a car backing out of a gravel driveway as his neck stiffened and his face turned to stone. These things can happen. One day you're here and the next, you're not. Hopefully we got many good years ahead of us. Jack lowered his gaze to Tiny's side, then made eye contact. I saw you struggling when you came in home this morning and greeted the kids. Was that something with your ribs? Maybe you just took a tough shot in the ring today? But maybe someone delivers an unlucky blow to the wrong spot on your head tomorrow. You just have to make the most of your time you have with the people you love and who love you. Tiny relented. Okay, I need to make more of an effort to live beyond work. I'll make sure to invite you guys over the weekend next time. I'm off for a few days. When you and Diane are free, of course. It'll be fun to spend some more time with the kids. Great, Colt. I'm happy to hear that. I want you to be part of their lives. No, our lives. Driving Jack, JJ, and Anna back home to Chevy Chase before heading into the DC, Tiny knew his brother was right and felt grateful for the time spent with his family. In the world of espionage, any presence with your personal world is hard to come by. A day of being fully present with your loved ones is a rare treasure that should be cherished. But there was another reason I made this trip. Smoke spiraled upward in the dive bar Jordan had chose as their rendezvous point, a beat-up joint called Captain Hook's. The place was filled with as colorful a menagerie of any place Tiny had been to. There was a group of college kids in shorts and sandals playing retro pinball on a machine in one corner. In another were two middle-aged women wearing leather with piercing peppered faces inches apart, and a man was sitting alone at the bar, seemingly muttering to his beer. Tiny stepped up to the bar a few stools over from the man and ordered a Baker's on ice. Tiny liked the higher proof Baker's bourbon his father had turned him on to, which had a sharper taste than the sweeter kick of an average bourbon, and even more flavor to boot. He looked up to see what was playing on TV. It was an old SportsCenter interview with LeBron James talking about his move to the LA Lakers. Tiny wondered if it wasn't a time for a change to scenery himself. He loved the adrenaline and diversity that came with his current role at base, but often thought about what it would be like to settle down into a more stable routine, preferably in the sun. Thinking of moving to Los Angeles too, Colt? He turned to find the defined features of his former schoolmate and fellow soldier, Jordan Turner. Jordan had always been a sight for sore eyes, but the years seemed to smooth her out to even more of a mythological siren, the kind that would tempt sailors to veer off course. When younger, Tiny had always found it difficult to concentrate in class without being distracted by Jordan's beauty, what with her athletic body of a movie star and striking features. It was a tough choice to leave the armed forces for private contract work at base, and seeing Jordan rise in the Army ranks to a respected role in intelligence command often made him wonder what life would have been like had they stuck together. They hugged, and Jordan ordered a Patron neat. Funnily enough, you read my mind. I'm tired of bouncing all over the world. I hear the weather's nice in the City of Angels. What do you think? Is it a place to settle down? I don't know, Jordan shrugged, a confused look at her face. With her drink in hand, she led the way to a table in the corner of the room. Tiny took a seat and proceeded to play with the coasters while surveilling the faces and postures of the other patrons, always on alert. Patrons. Neither was much for formalities, so Tiny figured he'd jump right into what he had reached out to her for. You heard anything about a group called the Phantoms? Word is they're an up-and-coming presence in the underworld, and Base HQ thinks they may be planning something big somewhere. There's talk of a Mirror Manor in the Middle East. Ring any bells? I don't know anything about any Phantoms or a Mirror Manor offhand, but maybe someone else has eyes or ears on it for Uncle Sam. You know how it's always a need-to-know basis. Let me check with my contacts and get back to you with anything I find. Jordan downed her drink and got up to leave. It was good to see you, he said to her back. She turned back and smiled. Thanks, it's great to see you again too. Then she headed into the DC streets. Tiny wondered if their personalities or training curtly cut their reunions to a sterilized back and forth about work. He stayed put and finished his drink, watching the crowd go about their daily lives, oblivious to the threats he, and possibly they, face each day. The past 18 hours had been torture. Tiny must have gone 10 miles pacing back and forth in his DC hotel room. That wasn't even including the 5 miles he spent at daybreak running through the city streets as the capital began to wake, or the dancing around the ring at the rundown boxing gym he found in his hotel room, near his hotel room. Tiny was trying to keep busy, but as the weeping wound in his side would tell you, sometimes he was a bit impatient. Finally, the afternoon after meeting at Captain's Hook, Tiny received a call from Jordan telling him to meet at the dog park by his hotel. He saw Jordan bundled up when he arrived, protected from the unseasonably cold weather. She cut right to the point. I asked around, and no one I've talked to knows much more than the occasional rumor of these phantoms. But our friends in Langley might have a lead. My CIA contact said that someone they had helped put away a few months ago, when he was in the United States doing business, had been making noise from his cell in the Red Onion out in Virginia, and mention of the phantoms has come up a few times. This guy's name is Victor Morto. He says he knows something about these upstarts and that they've been moving in on some of his old business. Might be worth paying him a visit. Red Onion State Prison is a supermax prison in Western Virginia. Tiny had never been to the place before, but it sounded like he now had a reason to drop by. That's great intel. Thanks, Jordan. Could you let the guards know that I need to see Morto? Sure, Colt. Keep me in the loop, okay? Tiny thanked Jordan for all the help and promised to keep her and her team updated on any progress made with Morto or the Phantoms. Sharing new information or intelligence that could prove useful to Jordan and the military was important in keeping communication channels as open as possible. Although everyone knew that, it wasn't always so readily done. Next stop was Wise County, Virginia, in the morning. First, sleep, for a few hours at least.